I decided to go to college, get my diploma, go to university, get my degree, and start teaching. Just like that. So it's right that they say the world is your oyster, love. You're at the point now, you're at the fortunate point where you can actually think to yourself, I don't want to do this. And don't worry about getting it wrong, that's part of the equation as well. Yeah? So, film actress, I see you being a film actress. Yeah? Does that answer your question a little bit?
A bit.
Yeah, no, well, it's a long bit, it's a long road, but if you listen to your dad, he's been around the block a few times, he'll put you right.
Just to recap on that, Charlie, right? 'Cause you told a really interesting little story there, which is a great little intro to you.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
So can you just can I do it again? I didn't get the camera out quick enough to get the first bit. No, you're right. It's just trained exactly on Charlie. So,
Okay.
so you started off. You left school.
Yeah. So I left school. Just wanted to do driving really. I want to see other countries. I want to see Europe and that. And so long distance driving was the best opportunity. And so I spent year after year just driving to France or Germany or Italy, Spain, whatever. And then one day I was sat in a lorry park in Paris, and this driver knew that I did drawings and sketches during my spare time, and he wanted to see them. So I showed him my portfolio, and he just simply said to me, "God, Charlie," he said, "if I could draw like that, I wouldn't be driving wagons." And I thought, So it started me thinking, I've often wondered what it'd be like to teach, and I'd love to teach. I just didn't think I was qualified. But then when I went to college, I met a great tutor there, and her name was Kate Crystal, and she guided me into teaching and how to best go about it. And so there I spent about 6 or 7 years teaching before I had to give up through ill health. But it was brilliant. I loved it.
I'm right in saying you did a major project, Charlie, where didn't you drive around in the truck and kind of like video the journey?
Oh yeah, well when I packed in the driving, I started an art project. I took my degree for art in Rutger College, and you had to do a project for your final piece. And so what I did is I bought a car for 100 quid, Ford Orion, and just decided to set off with a friend, Christos, to drive across Europe, retracing the places I've been to in a truck. And the idea being that I couldn't do in a truck what I could do in a car. You couldn't take trucks down little narrow lanes and so forth. And so what I used to do is just drive through the country, turn right or left, wherever I felt like it, come into a small village, drive up to the first door I came to, knock on the door and say, "Hello, my name's Charlie, I'm from England and I'm lost. Can you show me where Belgium is?" And get invited in and coffees and all that. And the idea was that not only was I travelling across Europe and filming it, I was meeting people for the first time. And that was what it was all about. It was about meeting other people and just sparking up an instant relationship, I suppose. But yeah, went down rather well. My name is Charlie Morden, and I'm an artist who paints pictures. And in the course of this video, I hope to show you some techniques that I use to paint these pictures. First thing I'll do is take you through the sort of equipment that you'll need.
Look it up.
Oh, I'm gonna drop it.
Need you?
Yeah, they look alright.
So what are they now? What are we looking at?
Flat synthetic brushes. Are there any more?
I think there will be. We should go and ask them. Yeah.
What do you do with free time? You just go stand in that. Okay, this is the range of brushes that you would probably need to be using. Now you don't need to go mad. Something like this here will give you a variety of brushes. Now these are really for watercolour paints, but I use them for oil paints as well because they give me a more balanced tone. I think that's probably my most popular choice, the flat there. You can get a lot of good effects with painting with flat brushes. When I get back home, I'll show you what these brushes can do on the canvas. Show you the effects. But that's a popular one as well. That's a very thin ferrule. They have one. Can't see it. Can you see any riggers at all?
Which one?
Riggers, they're like a long sabre about that length. No, thinner than that one. Okay, that's called a rigger. If you want to paint straight lines, the reason why they were called riggers is when they were painting the old-fashioned ships, they used these brushes to paint the rigging. So you can paint a straight line with them. The other people that used to use these brushes were sign writers. You can paint the letters now. But they're a great brush for painting detail and stuff like that. The only thing is, if you've got bad habits like me, you've got to keep them clean. As soon as you finish with them, get them clean. Don't let the paint dry on them. It's finished once you do that. Yeah. This kind of brush here. Whoops. That one we use for backgrounds. It's called a wash. Painting a wash. So if you want the blue sky, say for instance, you paint, you wash on the paper to start with. So you can see that you've got plenty of choice. And if you're like me, you can come in here and spend the whole day just looking around, seeing what you want. Ready-made canvases. Now, they are quite expensive, but really and truly, you can't. You could try and make your own, but they're so difficult to stretch the canvas. It's best just buying one. How much is that, Caitlin? Can you tell me?
£9.50.
£9 for a canvas that's going to last many lifetimes. You know, so it's not too bad really.
Those ones are £7.
They've come down a hell of a lot over the course of the years. So.
And that big one there is £6.25.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got a special offer on those, half price.
And the gold tray size was a really big one down there. So these are the canvases that you've got a choice of. Any size you can see. Depending on what you're painting. If you're painting a landscape, you should buy something that really is landscape orientated. You know, that for portrait, that for landscape. You can buy them in squares. You can even buy them if you point your camera that way, by huge size like that, which is ideal for students. If you're at college, I would come here to buy my cameras. I wouldn't dream of trying to make one that size. It's just too complicated.
And what alternatives to canvas do we have?
Well, canvases are mainly for oil paints, but in terms of watercolour, you can buy watercolour paper separate, or you can buy it in pads of say 12 sheets. But for watercolours, can you take me to a watercolour? Is there?
Okay, so I'll grab these for you.
I'll go and grab some.
Yeah, alright, thanks Helen. Here you've got a range of brushes. These are ideal for the beginner. You really need to find out how paint works on either canvas or, for the sake of watercolours, on watercolour paper. So in that sense, it's no use buying really expensive brushes. You may as well just buy a packet like this just to set you up and get you started. The real specialised brushes, I suppose. See this brush here? That's for large washes. So if you've got a large sheet of watercolour paper and you want to make it like a blue sky or slightly tinted background, you use one of these, just dip it in the paint and sweep across the paper. Oh yeah. These are for oil paints. You see how thick they are? This is the hogshead and brushes. And you've got books here as well that will show you various ways and means of painting, either watercolour, oils, or just simply drawing. Very good for teaching. I'm sure you can recognise this typical wooden palette that artists use for oil paints. Can be used for acrylics, and you just the same thing as everything else with painting. You've got to keep things clean. If you're like me, you put it down, forget about it, come to clean it the following day, you've got a nightmare in your house. So as soon as you finish painting, get a rag that's a throwaway rag, clean off the residue of paint, and then with a little bit of turps, clean it properly so it's ready for the next time to go. Price wise, I don't think they're that bad. Doesn't say. I think they're about £8 normally. Okay, these are great. For your amateur watercolourists, they're a great little tool to set up with. You've got little sections here for mixing your colours. The thing with watercolour paints, watercolour paintings, is that you kind of need to get your paint sorted out before you start. So you have several colours ready for go here. But a great book, these are £4, and you've got something there that'll last you a good many years. These are oil pastels. I've never actually seen them packaged like this. They look pretty good to me actually. £6, not bad. You can get very expensive pastels, but these look pretty good quality. And again, as a start-off tool, great. Don't spend your money on expensive stuff until you really know how to use it. This is lovely. This is lovely. Great beginners start-off set. Tubes of watercolour and tablets of watercolour. No difference really, except that experts in the field will probably use these rather than the tubes. The tubes, you don't really have much control over how much paint you want to saturate the paper with. Saturate is the term that watercolourists use. It just simply means the amount of tone that you get. I tend to overdo it with tubes, so I would stick with the tablets. But a great beginner's tool. This is everything you need really to get going, and just get the idea of what watercolours are all about. Then you can start forking out for the really expensive stuff. Okay, Caitlin just found this book here, and believe you me, it's great. It's just what you need. It shows you different mixes and how far you can take them to get different tones, but you can waste an awful lot of time mixing colours and getting it wrong. And if you're anything like me, you can end up with a nice soupy brown when you're after a nice glowing orange instead. So look at that, blues and purples, Spot on, just what you need. How much was it, Caitlin? Is it £8? 16 quid. Yeah, 15.99. Well worth it. I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna get this one as well. A little book on just showing you different papers and things like that. Can we go round to the papers now, Brian? For watercolours, there are many different sorts of paper, depending on weight and style. There's one that comes to mind called Bockingford. It's kind of like this. It's got rough edges, but you can see just how thick that is. And the idea of it being thick means that it won't cockle. When you put watercolour paint onto paper, it cockles up, as you say. Well, this stuff won't do that. It'll stay pretty firm on your board. Fix your paper down onto a nice flat piece of board, and you know, I usually just go around with a bit of masking tape, and that seems to do the trick. This is really good paper, but you can see £5 a sheet. You've got to know what you're doing, so it's worth getting some sketch pads together and just doing a bit of practice first. Do it on paper that will cockle. It doesn't matter, just as long as you get the general idea that once you can use the wow, look at that. Once you can get could I have that? Once you can get used to the paints and that sort of thing, then you're going to produce work on paper like that, like a masterpiece, yeah. And Caitlin's just brought this brush here. That would be fantastic for putting on a background. Let it dry and away you go. Cool. Yeah. But when you think, you know, that as an established artist, you know, you're pretty far into it now. £3 for a piece of paper on a painting that's going to be around for, could be a lifetime, couldn't it? It's pretty well worth it. You've got other stuff here which is more like for your graphic designers, people like that. But, a really wide-ranging amount of stuff that you can pick and choose from in this shop.
You ready?
Yeah. Easels are a must for the dedicated artist, especially with oil paints. Once you start applying oil paint onto a canvas, especially if you're painting the same as the Impressionists, where paint goes straight from the palette onto the canvas, it can get quite messy. So an easel is absolutely essential. These are tabletop easels. This one is standalone kind of thing, and would be handy. It looks okay for its purpose. You wouldn't be able to put really big canvases on there, but it would do for most painters, I guess. I've always managed with a tabletop easel, because the sort of work that I do is fine detail work, painted airplanes and trains and that sort of thing. Works absolutely fine. So you created your masterpiece, either oils or watercolours, and you decided to frame it. Brilliant, well done. These are called obviously easy frames, and they just give you an idea of what your painting is going to look like in a frame. There's a couple of stages to go through when you're doing painting and framing them. For instance, you've got to put it in the right frame that suits it, put it on the wall in the right place where it suits it, that sort of thing. Lots of things that you can learn from framing just by doing it, really. I couldn't teach you how to do that. It's something you can find out for yourself. But this is the place for frames to come to. Gives you plenty of choice, plenty of scope, I would say. When I first started off, I took my paintings to an art gallery, and they put them in frames, and we're talking maybe, you know, £100 worth of frame just to frame a painting. So you had to get it right. If you got it wrong, it's a lot of money down the drain. So This is a great start-off point again, I think. Okay.
So, I mean, what is the general importance of a frame? I mean, what does it do?
It's the final. It's that point that you're working towards, isn't it? You're painting. I presume you're doing it for putting onto a wall at some point. With most paintings, watercolour in particular requires a frame for it to be finished off and you know, looking just right. It needs a frame. Oil colours, not so. You can have a canvas that if you were to frame it, you find you'd spend an awful lot of money in just getting it framed, you know. So again, it's a matter of personal choice, but that's the idea of framing, is just to round off, to make it ready for sale in a gallery or something like that. It's no use really walking into a gallery with a load of unframed canvases. They need to be up on the wall to be ready to be sold, so you have to, many times you have to frame them yourself before you take them in. Okay, here we are. This is it, the Aladdin's cave of paints. I could stand there and look at this lot for hours and hours, but as any artist will tell you, that they have their own favourite kind of palette, meaning the colours that they use mainly more than other colours. So you may, I mean, you're going to want to start off with the primary colours first, red, blue, green, that kind of thing, and from those colours you can mix other colours such as red and yellow mix orange and so on and so forth. Depending on the type of painting that you're going to achieve, you've got acrylic paints here, very wide range. You've got art mediums here. These are the mixers for acrylics to make them flow a bit easier, which I'll explain a little bit later. Turpentine for thinning down the oil colours. Spirits, thinners for cleaning your brushes, so on and so forth. A bit further up, Brian, if you look down there, that's your watercolours. Okay. I'll just explain these here. These here, this is a medium for thinning down for oils. Okay, makes the paints a bit soluble and easier to use. Again, I'll give you a demonstration to show how they work. This is where the expense starts happening when you get into stuff like this. These are linseed oils, that sort of thing. In the olden days, oil colourists used to mix their paints with a little bit of linseed oil. This made them thinner and spread over the canvas easier, but it made them take ages and ages to dry, and I'm talking months. You know, painting, you couldn't really expect an oil painting using linseed oil to be dry in less than 6 months, that sort of thing. So again, I'll talk about this stuff at a later date, but you've got everything you need here. Oil painters, everything you need, acrylic painters, thinners, mediums, that sort of thing. Watercolourists, a very, very wide range of beautiful colours for you to pick and choose from. Right, got sketch pads here. This is just your ordinary everyday sketch pad, but they are really, I mean, this is dead handy because when you tear the page out, you're not actually going to rip the other one by mistake. Of course it'll come off rough edge, but if I'm right in thinking, well, no, it doesn't. Normally they've got a little serrated edge that you can tidy up afterwards, but that's great paper for sketching on. It's nice and thick, so if you have to rub anything out, you're not going to crease the paper. That's the sketch pad. Very well presented, looks lovely. Don't know where I got it from. Do that for now. You've got acrylic pads. Okay, slightly thicker paper. Acrylic is just a thicker form of watercolour, really. Right, that's better. Okay, you see the thickness there? that watercolour paper,
Mm-hmm.
and also it's got slightly indented, so it'll give you a nice finish, really professional finish. All sorts of shapes and sizes. £8 for that pad, but you're buying really good quality paper here. And okay, for the beginner, that's way too expensive for what you want. You don't want to mess around with stuff like this when you're just learning how to use the stuff. You're probably better just using a sketchbook like this. Alright, it will cockle a bit, but you know, I'll show you how to stretch what they call stretch paper like this, so it can be used for watercolour.